All right, so good day, everyone. As I was introduced, my name is Josh Weissbock. I'm currently a hockey analytics consultant for the Florida Panthers of the National Hockey League. And as part of my job is I use Python day-to-day to help solve problems. So this is a very quick, very rushed talk on a very high-level view of all the cool tools I use in Python, or at least I think are useful to my day-to-day job. So very quickly, hockey analytics, it's the quantitative evidence used to try and answer questions within the scope of hockey. They use analytics in all different areas, different sports, but my focus is specifically on hockey. I got into it, I started off by blogging. I was on a popular Vancouver Canucks blog, CanucksArmy.com, where I was using Python to do research, asking questions about the game, asking about the draft. And from there, I went to the University of Ottawa, where I studied machine learning, again using Python to try and answer questions about hockey. Those two built up my resume and allowed me to join the Florida Panthers last year, where I am a prospect consulting specialist with a focus on the draft, where I use Python to dig into data to try and answer questions about the draft. Throughout the year, we help advise the GMs, the scouts, coaches on all kinds of decision making with the ultimate goal of increasing wins, reducing risk, and trying to reduce costs. So in my very day-to-day work, it can really be broken down into 5 major tasks. And if you ever do any type of data analysis, data science, data analytics, you've probably seen these before. It's collecting data, sanitizing data, preparing data, analyzing data, and presenting data. And I use Python for all those steps. So collecting data is where all of our projects start, and it starts with trying to grab data that we can use. And this is 70% of our effort, and usually it's involved in crawling or scraping websites. I often use requests, a very easy library. I use Beautiful Soup, again, very easy library to use in scraping. And the reason I use these is because they're just so easy to use. Within a couple lines, you're running up and you're scraping websites. And I mean, for PyCon, I don't have to convince you about the ease of Python. But the problem with these tools is, so for example, if you're looking at the Ontario Hockey League website, you want to scrape their schedule, this is what you would see when you open a browser. But this is what the code sees. And that's because there's a lot of dynamic JavaScript used to generate the DOM. These libraries don't handle that well. So to get around that, I've had to use a bunch of different tools. So I often use Selenium, not just for testing. You can use Selenium to load dynamic JavaScript on DOMs for scraping. But then the problem is, if you ever use Selenium, you notice it brings up a window which you can't use on the command line. So then you have to start looking at headless browsers. Phantom.js is an awesome solution if you want to do scraping of dynamic web pages from the command line. Or if you're working in other environments such as Python Anywhere, PyVirtualDisplay is another solution to get around these kind of environments. So there's a lot of issues you run into. Websites are badly written. Sometimes these hockey websites take 20 seconds to load the JavaScript, which usually times out Selenium or other testing tools. So you have to find hacks to get around that. A lot of sites don't like you running thousands of requests overnight to grab all their data. Websites change. Layouts change, so your scrapers can break, so you have to have good error handling. And IDs can change. I've seen leagues change all of their game IDs for the entire history overnight, just one day. So now you've downloaded data, you have to actually make sure it's usable. So next step is sanitizing data, which is making sure it's within the valid ranges, or what we would expect with what you would expect it to look like. This is a slow, manual, custom job, and really depends on what you're doing. So again, many awesome Python tools, pandas, numpy, scipy, or if you're not technology inclined, or if you want to give it to your intern, get them to use Excel. So there's a lot of issues that you run in there. If you're trying to match data across different websites, for example, players from NHL.com and EliteProspects.com, there's no way to know that you match the same player data. No sites use the same IDs, so you have to try and match by spelling of names. And of course, spelling of names is a very difficult task because every site spells it differently. Mike versus Michael, or if you look at Russian versus Anglophonic spelling, you get variants of how names can be spelled. Data births can be wrong, or data births can be ranges that don't even exist, such as the 13th month of the 57th day. And biological data is very interesting because height or weight doesn't matter. It fluctuates day to day, week to week, month to month, season to season for players. And height, players just lie about. Almost no player is 5'11". So now you've downloaded your data, you have it, and you have to put it somewhere you can use it for your future work. Python, again, great for this. There's a number of solutions, and really it's the database, the data storage. You can use SQL, or no SQL solutions, no SQL solutions, pickle, flat files, CSV files, whatever, again, works for your comfort. Me, I like SQLite. Again, super easy. Within 2 lines, you're querying a database. Again, the issue here is data does change post hoc. You can download game data. The next day, they can realize who the appropriate secondary assist was assigned to, and player data can change. So you have to have good error handling forwards and good checking. A little anecdote is when I used to work in the public, I used to have a junior hockey data site, and I've had a number of hockey parents email me because they're mad because their child's data was off by 1 point. So just an example of why you need to be checking for good data. So once you have your data, now you can actually start doing the work that you started doing, answering the question that you wanted to answer in the first place. Again, it's custom. You have to look at what you're trying to do and what you're familiar with. Python's great in this area. A number of great tools to help you answer questions. NumPy, SciPy, stats model, or my favorite is scikit-learn. I use this a lot in my master's because, again, with 4 lines, you can create a model, you can input your data, and you can start predicting. The final step is actually turning your data into something that's useful that the people you're working with can see the answers to. Again, depending on what you're working, depending on the context, you can do a number of solutions. Visualizations are great. There was a great talk yesterday morning on that. My favorite is on web. I love using Flask. And within a couple lines, you have a web server working. Web's great for this area because you can share your results of your data with people around the world. But it has a downside of being harder to deal with complex equations, complex long-running equations. So you have to looking at various asynchronous solutions. So recently I've been using Celery a lot. Within just adding a simple decorator to function, you can have your heavy calculations done server side so your user isn't waiting for a page to load for a minute that may or may not fail. So just to wrap it up, because like I said, it's really quick, I just want to show a couple examples of real work that we do. These all take all 5 steps from scraping the data and generating data that the users can read. So you have the traditional tables, which you can sort through, which aren't super enlightful unless you know what you're looking for. So you can start generating graphs with JavaScript on the front end. Or you can, that's another example. But I'm not the only one in hockey analytics who uses Python. There's a great website, hockeyviz.com. He creates thousands and thousands of images and graphs all done in Python overnight. So he has a couple examples and more examples. So that was a very quick run through of all the major tools I use in Python for hockey analytics. Like I said, it's a very quick and easy tool. That's why I use it. That's why I'm sure you use it. If I didn't use it, honestly, my job would be much harder.